Hello and welcome to 25 Cents, an Apple Arcade podcast. I'm Chris.
And I'm Nick. Each episode we'll be talking about the Apple Arcade games we've tried, what we keep going back to, and what we think might be great games to check out if you've got kids.
You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts on the internets or on the web at Goodstuff.fm. Hi, Nick. How are you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Oh, not too bad. Not much has really changed since last we talked, I don't think.
I mean, we're both kind of stuck at home now.
Mm-hmm.
In various degrees of stay-at-home orders.
Yeah, are you under legal requirement to stay home now, or is it still like suggested?
Yeah, I'm a little unclear as to what Governor Inslee's emergency powers entail. You are only supposed to go out for essential services, basically food and medical care. But I don't know what kind of tickets or arrests they can make if you actually violated that. It's definitely not a curfew. I think it's stronger in other jurisdictions in the U.S. right now, but
right.
We don't really have anywhere to go. We're stocked up. We're staying home. But before we get into the world of pandemic, I do have a quick confession to make.
Okay.
This week, I did not play the game.
I need my gasp sound effect.
Do you have a soundboard entry
Kenny
we can throw in there?
No, but yeah, and I will also confess that I have not played it, even though I was the one who was had the most time, I guess, or availability. I was on holidays. I was traveling by plane. There's plenty of opportunity all over the place to do it. Other than, I will say that I was probably naive to think that leaving winter and snow to a beach and sun area, probably not the greatest place to try and fit in some video game time on your phone if you're at all vitamin D deficient, as I do, as most Canadians are. But that being said, it's, there's plenty of time. I really got into, actually, I made use of Apple TV Plus. Is that what it's called? The, oh shoot, I haven't finished it now. The series, the one about the video game company. Why am I blanking on the name?
Mythic Quest Raven's Banquet.
Yeah.
Which we actually just finished the season finale 2 nights ago.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I downloaded a couple episodes to my phone on the way down and watched those instead of playing the game. And then on the way back, I downloaded 2 or 3 more episodes and played that on the way back while not touching anything at all. And so, yeah, I loved it. So I haven't finished it yet, I guess, but I think I have 1 or 2 episodes left. But episode 6 or 5, I forget. It's the one where like they show the history of sort of.
Yeah, it's episode 5. It's like totally distinct from the rest of the series, and it was the best episode by far.
Yeah, like I want to I was tempted to show it to my wife because she hasn't watched the series at all. I was kind of tempted to show it to her, that episode, and see if, like, did they do a good job of like building up to that point, or was it just a really good standalone episode of TV that like sits on its own? But I mean, there is some emotional resonance with what else is going on, but it feels like just as a standalone episode, it was like one of the better episodes of TV I've seen in the last few years anyways.
Yeah, they did a really good job. There's some little payoffs relative to it later in the season, but yeah, it's I really enjoyed it. It's got a lot of fun references. The hardest part about a show like that is part of what makes it funny is how terrible everyone is. And sometimes that's less fun to watch than other shows where people actually like care for each other, like The Good Place or Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where everyone's sort of nice.
Yeah. Yeah, there isn't really, well, I guess I'll find out. You don't have to tell me, but there isn't a whole lot of active redemption, I guess, going on. Little bit moments, but nothing. Anyways, we're not Apple TV Plus corner. We'll cover the Apple TV in a little bit. But moving on, I guess, what in the world of quarantine, now that we're under, as we come home to this crazy world that we're in, and obviously everybody out there, wherever you are in the world, obviously we're hoping you're staying safe, you're washing your hands, you're obviously, I'm assuming, under some sort of stay-at-home order or suggestion, and just be smart. As I scratch my nose, I just realized. But we've been under, because we came from out of country, then as the week has gone on, we're under like initially it was just suggested to stay home. Now we're ordered, as of yesterday, we're ordered to isolate 14 days and not even go grocery shopping. Basically, you're not supposed to. As of yesterday, you weren't even allowed to take public transit home from the airport if you came from out of country. So, which kind of leaves a lot of people hanging a bit in balance, but people are making do and having friends obviously take care of them and stuff. But anyways, so we're on day 11 now as I record this, and all signs are good. Everybody seems to be healthy, but just playing it safe, obviously, with what's going on. So it does allow for a lot more video game time with three kids being home from school and a little bit less work getting done. But what video games have been like going on in your world in our kids corner section?
Yeah, so we right as things were starting to quiet down here in Seattle, I think they went to the like you really should stay home, and the schools started closing, but we weren't yet at no, definitely stay home, essential services only. We picked up Yoshi's Crafted World for the Switch, which has been a great platformer to play with my son because it's a little bit more forgiving than the new Super Mario Brothers in terms of how many tricky jumps there are and how easy it is to fall and that sort of thing. But also there's a 2-player co-op mode where one of the Yoshis can hop on the back of the other Yoshi. So basically I can drive and do all the jumping and he can do all the egg throwing and like picking up items and stuff. And so that's like a good kind of team mode, especially as he's a younger player. And then if he wants to, he can hop off and do some of the moves himself. But if he's feeling like, oh, yeah, that looks too hard, I'll just hop on your back and you kind of carry me through this section. And it's got this fun little like paper craft look and feel.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just looking at it in the stream and seeing it if you're watching. I've wondered about that. And I see actually there's a demo now, so I'll have to just download that and try because it's the trouble. So it's a 2-player game at most, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So that's where we're always stuck because we've got 3 kids and looking for good multiplayer games to occupy their time. So we've got Mario Kart, which works really well, but that does get old eventually. Like it's a fun one, but you can't. 2 hours of Mario Kart is a lot of racing around a track. And not that they're doing that necessarily, but I've often looked at that and thought we should try that out because it looks like a lot of fun. And yeah, Mario, the Mario games themselves are often the newest one on the Switch has multiplayer support, but inevitably it turns into a yelling fest where somebody goes too far ahead and someone else can't get there and they fall off and then they get mad at each other and punches start flying and yeah. So
yeah, we just have that conflict if my wife and I are playing, we have to be very careful to work together
yeah, exactly.
and not introduce any strife. In terms of multiplayer, so there was a Nintendo mini direct this morning. They just posted to YouTube like a 30-minute roundup of new games that are out or coming. And I saw there's like a Minecraft Dungeons that's coming that looked like it might be a fun sort of Diablo light kind of game. I don't know much about it, but yeah, it seems like there's a lot of stuff happening in the Switch space, and of course there's lots of new Apple Arcade games that are coming. It seems like there was kind of a lull around the holidays of new releases, and now there's been more of a weekly, new and interesting game coming out again.
Yeah, I was just saying Minecraft Dungeons. I saw a launch trailer for a month or two ago. I forget when they first launched it, but it definitely looks like a fun one that would be great for kids who are weaned on Minecraft, grew up on Minecraft, and need maybe a little bit more adventure to the game without having to worry about destroying their friends' creations and things like that, which often happens on servers. I hear from my kids screaming at each other as well. I think the common.
Oh no!
I was kind of joking about how like games that start with M seem to cause a lot of fights in our family amongst games, but I think it's actually just our kids. But there's something about 3. There's always going to be somebody who's like, yeah, either left out or feels like they didn't get equal time or whatever in the dungeon or in the castle or whatever. But it looks like it would be a lot of fun, I think. And that's coming out soon-ish. Do you remember what
I think so. And then the other one that looked good was, I think it was just called Good Job. And it was like, it was kind of a silly running around the office gopher thing. You have to clean up this mess, move the projector down the hall. but everything's destructible and you gets increasingly silly. Um,
Nice.
it reminded me a little bit of I don't know if you ever played any of the old Mac shareware games from Ambrosia Software, but they had Harry the Handsome Executive.
I didn't play that one.
uh, and you're just like scooting around in an office chair with a staple gun, trying to avoid various traps and enemies. It reminded me of that a little bit, obviously with a modern take on it.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, it looks like Minecraft Dungeons is coming out April 10th, is what they said. So obviously it could be delayed, I guess, with everything that's going on in the world. But if they're talking about it on the Nintendo Direct, I would assume it's actually coming. Now, I kind of wish, I think I told you last time we'd bought Minecraft for the Switch, digital download version, and just to have it on every single platform possible in our house. And the kids ended up losing the rights to take the Switch along on our trip, just for reasons that we won't get into. So it ended up staying home, and so now, yeah, I kind of wish we would have waited and got Minecraft Dungeons maybe on the Switch instead of just old Minecraft. But I digress. We needed to give Minecraft
Yes.
and Microsoft a little bit more money just to make sure they stayed afloat during this time.
We have not jumped into Minecraft quite yet in this house, although my son is well aware of it between the Minecraft Lego camp he did last summer and the Netflix interactive series that there was,
Oh yeah,
and just the Minecraft Lego in general was his exposure to the idea.
yeah.
So well, we might have to explore that. I hear there's Minecraft on the Good Stuff FM server, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a lot of fun. And that's actually what our kids have been mostly playing is Minecraft on computers, actually, with their cousins who are, spread across the country here. And we got a free 30-day Realms trial, which is Minecraft's multiplayer server thing. 10 people can be on it. And so they're doing that every couple of days, kind of playing for an hour or two with each other and running a Discord server for them to voice chat. And yeah, it's been kind of fun. And I kind of find myself wishing I almost picked up another license just so I could jump in and join them because our kids are all using up all our licenses for Minecraft. But I think we've given them enough. I'm going to hold off. But you mentioned in the notes here, you mentioned something about Scratch, which is that programming for kids site, right?
Yeah, it's an MIT project. It's block style programming, so it's to teach you the basics of if then else for while loops, button interactions and stuff. And my son's expressed an interest, I think probably because he knows I do programming, and this one's a relatively accessible thing, although I have to help him with it a lot. But it's fun because you can also kind of create all your own little graphics and stuff. It's very reminiscent to me of HyperCard, the old Mac platform. Although that you had to write AppleScript, HyperScript, not this block programming. And then you can, we've kept him private, but you can share your projects. And so we've sort of tried to turn that into the tech lesson that he would normally get once a week at school. So we've made like a basic balloon popping game where, you tap the balloon and it disappears and makes a noise and increments a score. So, some basics around events and variables that are kind of interesting. I mean, he's only 6. He's not going to be programming anything big soon, but it's enjoyable. And we've integrated it a little bit with trying to do some of his math projects. Like he has to learn number bonds, which is I guess a newer way of teaching addition and subtraction. So he made a little number bond checker where you set it up and hit the button and it'll tell you if you did it right or wrong.
Oh yeah. Nice. Yeah, that's where I think lots of parents we're probably scrambling a bit, and maybe still are, in terms of what
yes
to do with
we
kids.
have good resources from the teachers, but it's still finding a lot of stuff to occupy time.
Yeah, because it's a long day, and then you're still doing the usual stuff in the evening as well that you were doing before. That's what it's been interesting actually. If we're sticking in kids corner here for a moment / quarantine corner of just even the difference within, and I'm sure it's similar in the States too and all around the world, but like one province over where cousins are, they're getting very like I guess lots of schoolwork assigned and kind of like almost keeping the program going basically, more or less. It sounds like, whereas our teachers here are much more relaxed, at least initially right now, and just kind of like, we'll see what comes and take a break almost kind of approach. And I'm sure, varying levels, obviously according to grade and things like that. But to the point that actually our school year is basically, unless things turn around drastically, the school year is done, and they've, like, even for grade 12 students who normally would be graduating, going to university, etc., their grade is now set. Whatever they're at now is what their passing grade is, and then that's it. So they're kind of assuming that school won't be going back is kind of the approach that they've taken here. So it's interesting times. So know that you're not alone if you're out there and wondering what to do with your kids. And obviously you don't want to necessarily spend all day or have them spend all day staring at video game screens, but maybe we can give a little bit of advice and tips on what to try out, or you can send in your suggestions to us at on Twitter at 25C Arcade. It would be awesome to hear from you and how you're dealing with extra time with your kids, which is fun and a blessing, but also it can be a struggle especially if you're trying to work.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah, I mean, I'm working from home, but I have some flexibility there, so it lets me pop out and do some lessons and maybe some fun playtime, which could be screen time or not. Yeah. I think speaking of screen time, I think there's some rumors heating up again around Apple TV hardware, but also tvOS features. I'm not sure if it was the iOS 13.4 build had something inside of it or what, but some features that seem to indicate a better kids mode on the Apple TV platform.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting to me, because it's not only the screen time aspect of it, where we've actually just in lieu of what's going on, we've kind of like provisioned various old iOS devices to our kids and then set up corresponding iMessage accounts and screen time related settings just to, like, for protection, but also like for time and amount spent on apps and stuff like that. And the Apple TV itself would be an easy one to, like, sort of circumvent that at this point anyways. And so it's interesting and good to see, I guess, that they're going to bring some of that there. I'm not interested, each parent is different obviously on how they do this, but it's not that we're interested in totalitarian, is that the word? Control over what goes on with our kids on the device, but just kind of like guardrails kind of is what I'm after. And that's where Apple's been slowly getting better at that. And so the Apple TV, for the purposes of this podcast, though, it's mainly just like we just need a new one so that we're not buying something that's really old and can also play the Apple Arcade games really well that are out there. And yeah, so this kids mode screen time, is that something that it would be justification, I guess, for going for a newer one as opposed to buying a 4K model that's cheaper?
I think so. For us, probably 4K. We don't have a 4K TV, but the 4K model would probably be a little bit of future proofing for when our current, now almost 6-year-old TV inevitably dies, that we would jump into the world of 4K. So might as well have it. We certainly already have a reasonable amount of movie content in iTunes that would be available in 4K if we had the upgrade. And certainly for some of these Apple Arcade games, it feels like they really would benefit from the more console experience that an Apple TV could provide, which I haven't had a chance to try. In terms of screen time, I think we've talked before, maybe it was episode 1 or 2, you were talking about how Xbox Live manages it. We don't really have that much locked down because my son's screen time is we're there, right? Right. So we don't really need to super lock it down, other than just making sure he can't purchase apps or in-app purchases willy-nilly. So we have that approval set up, and that's enough. Just avoid those accidental sorts of situations.
Yeah. In-game purchases that rack up $200 all of a sudden overnight or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Although we don't have a lot of games that have those kind of buy a million gems situation. But I did just upgrade my work computer to Catalina, so I'm a little bit tempted to put some arcade games on there from my Apple ID and see how they work on that larger screen.
Yeah, actually, that's what I completely forgot. I in order for this trip, anyways, and other reasons, I'd upgraded to a newer MacBook Pro that came with Catalina. My main work computer here that I use is still on Mojave or whatever. But I'd kind of forgotten about Apple Arcade as an option, even, and in a little bit of an Apple corner, even deeper in niche, I guess. The MacBook Pro, the 16-inch MacBook Pro, is not very easy to use on an airplane. It opens up, at least the seats I'm sure if you're in first class, there's plenty of room for it, but opening up a 16-inch MacBook Pro on your little table thing is a recipe, at least for me, was like just tension, because I was like, if the person in front of me just puts her seat back at all, my screen is just going to crumble. And so I basically didn't use it. But yeah, I just was updating it the other day here and realizing, yeah, I should try. I saw perennial favorite of ours, my brains, the one that we always play that I'm playing.
Grindstone?
Grindstone, yeah, is on. Thank you. I'll just edit out the dramatic pause. My brain caught up to my mouth. But Grindstone is on the Mac App Store version of Apple Arcade, which I guess I would assume now that as they get more support across all devices, like as people upgrade to Catalina more, they'll make that a requirement almost for the games as well, just like Apple TV. So, and I think it would have carryover as far as save state and stuff as well. So it could be interesting. I mean, I don't really need more distractions on my computer for when I'm supposed to be working, but it is a nice option to have.
Yeah.
So what games are you?
Tried?
Go ahead.
Oh. I was just about to ask what you were going to ask.
Well, I'll lead into that, and then we'll go to that. So what games are you going back to still, or have you tried in the meantime?
Yes, well, as discussed, I did not pick up Mutazioni, but I tried Crossy Castle. Had some fun with that one. So that's a little mini platformer from the folks who made Crossy Road, and I guess Disney Crossy Road, the tie-in version. It's pretty fun. It's a little procedurally generated tower, and every set of levels have sort of a theme. Like, oh, this is the one with springboards. This is the one with moving platforms. This is the one with extra spikes. And it gets progressively harder, and there are bosses every 30 levels or so, and a chance to get hearts back every, I think, 10 levels. But it's pretty challenging. And what kept happening to me was there was one particular level that if that one ever came up on the random number generator, like I would just die 3 times and be done with my run. So I just never got a chance to get better at that particular level. But it's pretty fun, and there's a good variety of mechanics, and the on-screen controls actually work pretty well because it's just left, right, or jump.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, those are the Crossy Road one. I remember when that came out, and it was just a fun, kind of simple, good-looking game that just was easy to drop into and drop out of, and not really worry too much, obviously, about long-term role-playing elements or anything like that.
Yeah, and this has a lot of the same art style and costume elements, but no in-app purchases. Of course, it's a little different business model.
And then there's another one that's Kenny had mentioned, fellow good stuffer Kenny over on Midnight Snack, which you can check out as a podcast on goodstuff.fm/Midnight Snack, and called Round Guard. And did you give that one a try?
Yeah, I gave it a quick try. It's a little bit Peggle or Snood or that general category. But with some RPG elements thrown in. So you're upgrading your little character, and you can pick a different class, and then you're hurdling them through various destructible items and monsters, and using little power-ups to clear the level. It's pretty good. I need to give it a little more time to get a better read on it. I think, as with most games where there's an aiming mechanic, it's very tricky to get the hang of that, right? Like it's not repeatable actions.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And the only other one I was playing with this last break just a little bit more was Mini Motorways, which wasn't one of our picks, but just as I find the puzzle game kind of element the easiest for my brain to sort of pop into if I'm, say, flying for 5 hours or anything like that, and might be interrupted by a child at any moment whose drink has spilled all over their lap or anything like something like that might happen on a plane, just for example. And yeah, that's where I like going back to Grindstone. It's kind of like it feels like a puzzle puzzle kind of game to me more than anything else, a strategy game or whatever, where it feels like you're kind of like trying to unlock the best path through the each level. But still haven't wrapped that one. But yeah, Mini Motorways is a nice, again, visually really pleasing one to look at and play, and has nice little sounds and stuff if you have your headphones in or whatever. And then the other one that you had mentioned here in the notes, Spider. What's that one?
Yes, that one just came out this week, and this is one that my son has really enjoyed. It's actually he's adapted to the 3D controls of it pretty well. So it kind of, mechanics wise, it's kind of a mix of assemble with care, in that you're kind of working through a puzzle. But instead of sort of holding the object and being able to turn it around in your hands, you're this little spider bot crawling around the object. So you're trying to like sabotage an airplane or rescue a submarine or stop a runaway train. And it's got kind of the fun 60s spy thriller setting around it. So it's got a lot of the aesthetics that I liked from what was that one I tried, like Agent 37 or whatever it was, that was
Right.
not a very fun, wasn't fun mechanically, but had a good aesthetic. This one has that aesthetic and is also quite fun. Um, so yeah, you're kind of going through these different spy gadgets and trying to solve the levels. And there's also some collectibles you can find around the levels, which is fun. Although my son, not being one for achievement unlocking yet, was like, why are there stickers everywhere? Who is leaving these stickers? Um,
It is funny. I was just playing the trailer here while you were talking, but so walking around the world and just watching him or her, the spider controller, I guess, or whatever. You're sort of walking around a human-sized world, obviously as a spider, and then you kind of drop into deeper puzzles as you find the spot to go. Is that kind of the idea?
yeah, so you go inside different mechanisms to sort of fix them or sabotage them or whatever the case may be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's quite fun, and we played it with the controller, which I think, but I tried it briefly with the touch controls, and it seems like it would work well with that too.
Right. Yeah, it looks really, again, like most Apple Arcade games so far that we've tried anyways, looks really good. And just on that merit alone, I'm not hearing any sounds from it. I'm just watching the trailer and it looks really good and definitely be worth a try, especially for a kid. I could see, yeah, like a iPad-sized version or bigger would be really nice to have just to see the
Yeah.
elements, whereas the iPhone size is probably not as enjoyable. I mean, obviously you can play it on the iPhone, but just, yeah, to really take in all the elements that you're looking at and seeing in the world you're walking around in. So,
Yeah, there's definitely even though everything is available for all four platforms, I feel like each one has sort of an optimal, at least so far, each game has had sort of like, oh yeah, this is definitely a controller game or a touch game, or this is definitely an iPhone game or an iPad game or a TV game. So it's interesting. I don't know if that'll shake out because maybe these games were all sort of in development before Apple Arcade started. And so eventually we'll get to a point where the games have more parity across the four platforms, or it just will always be the case that one of them will be the afterthought for that particular game mechanic.
yeah, because when you think about it, it's a really hard, like it's hard enough to design a really good game for touch, but then to also account for the fact that someone might be playing it on their MacBook Pro or with a controller on a 70-inch TV at the same time. Like that's a tall order. I think Apple's asking developers to do really.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're sort of pushing for that because it makes all the platforms equally viable in the long run. I think because they don't not just dependent on people buying an Apple TV like they were before for any sort of video games on the Apple TV, which is why Minecraft I think came and went from the Apple TV app stores apparently.
Right.
If Minecraft can't make it, I guess then that's and there may be other reasons why. Obviously, different companies, different purposes, but yeah. So it bodes well, I guess, that games like this are still coming out even at this point, which is now what are we here? Probably 5 months into the Apple Arcade experience, I guess. So it's good sign that they're not slowing down anyways, and hopefully we'll continue to get more value. And that's where it's kind of nice with the Apple TV subscription or Apple Arcade subscription. Sorry, that it just adds to the library. It's not like games disappear, at least that we've seen yet. I guess we'll find out if a game all of a sudden drops off, then you're not allowed to play it anymore because they revoke the license for it or something, or I don't know. But that's more down the road. I don't anticipate sort of the Netflix style where Friends all of a sudden disappears or whatever from Apple Arcade, but I guess in theory it could happen.
Yeah, I have to imagine they sign better content deals than that, and probably they're a lot cheaper than trying to get Friends on your streaming service.
Exactly. So, at any rate, anything else as far as games you're going back to or still playing?
I'll mention quickly. So my mom and I for basically forever have been huge Scrabble fans, and we play each other when we're in person. Obviously, even though they're local, we are not interacting in person right now under quarantine. And Hasbro launched a new mobile version of Scrabble, and it is one of the worst in-app purchase nonsense games I have ever tried. It is
Oh
like
no.
impossible to just play your friends. It's constantly trying to get you into a game with a stranger, popping up, today's prize run, buy more gems that you can use for power-ups while playing Scrabble. Like it's just, it is an example of everything that Apple Arcade is trying not to be.
It's disappointing, especially for something like at this point, there has been 1,000,001 probably Scrabble games, and
Hmm.
it should not be that hard to make a good game that people are.
Yeah.
So obviously, it sounds like just a money grab to try and
Yeah,
get
it
people.
is.
Yeah,
I just wish there was a like letterpress but Scrabble,
yeah,
simple UI, play your friends, that's it.
yeah. As Kyle says, gems, gems, gems. Just after all the gems, everybody's gems.
Yep.
Got to send back some germs
Anyway,
and
that's
some
all I.
gems. Yeah, actually, and I haven't. Other than Minecraft, that's the main one that's sort of been going around. My relaxing game that I go to is we don't even have a Xbox corner. We don't need to add an Xbox corner, I don't think, for the amount that I actually play. But
You're not getting me to buy an Xbox.
you said that about the Switch, didn't you?
I know I did.
No, that's I'm going to convince Kyle. I can't remember if Kyle has I think he has an Xbox, and going to convince if I can convince Kyle to buy NHL 20 and play an actual game of hockey with me. That's the end goal for Goodstuff.fm as an entity. That then we'll just shut it all down. But yeah, NHL hockey is my like. I don't play hockey. I mean, I play street hockey with my kids, but I don't play hockey. I don't obsess about real NHL hockey. But for me, playing a NHL hockey video game is kind of like the wind down thing in the evening, and it's nice in terms of most sports games are like this. There's not a lot of strategy to it. You play the game, you stop, you're done. That's it, and it's kind of like just like watching a TV show almost for me. So that's my little mind break game of choice these days. But yeah, we'd love to hear from you. What games are you playing during your whatever quarantine, isolation, or just what other terms are we using? Stay socially distancing, physically distancing, whatever the term is in your neck of the woods. You can reach us at on Twitter at 25C Arcade, and of course, goodstuff.fm slash 25C. So, anything else for next time? We'll actually try playing. What's it called, Nick?
Mutazione.
There we
We're
go.
gonna do it.
We're actually going to play it. And I think, you know what, the biggest problem for me actually is a game like that. And I was thinking of other games that we've played where it feels like going back to the idea of like mini motorways or a grindstone where it's like a quick drop in, drop out, even D-Reader. Doomsday Vault, Enchanted, even Pilgrims to a point in most, all feel like I have to like be emotionally connected and invested in what I'm doing. And it's often...
Right.
That's not what I'm going to my phone for. You can make some sort of deeper analogy towards all social media and stuff here as well, that I'm not really emotionally connecting with what's going on there either. And I think that's where I start up the game, and it's like I started it up and I watched the first little bit of the cutscene. It looks really good and really deep and emotionally like intense even. But I'm just waiting for my kid to go to sleep. I can't really do that right now, so I have to go back to Grindstone.
All right. Well, we'll switch to some of the more casual puzzlers in the rotation after this.
All right. I know it sounds like it's very first world problems to be complaining about the game you're playing for your podcast, obviously. So before I get too many tiny violins playing for me, I think we'll sign off. So thank you for listening to 25 Cents, the Apple Arcade podcast we run here at Good Stuff. You can find me on Twitter at iChris.
And you can find me on Twitter and most everywhere else as UltraNerd. That's NURD.
And you can find 25 Cents wherever you listen to podcasts, of course. Be sure to check out the Good Stuff Patreon, patreon.com/goodstuff, as you'll get some early previews of the Midnight Snack Show, as well as other stuff that we've got planned over there. And be sure to tell your friends about 25 Cent Arcade. We'd love to have you and your friends as listeners, subscribers, viewers. We stream this live occasionally, Thursdays when we can. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Just trying to hold Aaron's head up on the Twitch stream.